So today I want to talk a little bit about genetics, and ultimately if you're trying to do things to change your genetics, then you're kind of trying to piss on a house fire to put it out. If not worse, you're trying to put out a house fire with more fire. So one thing that a lot of people say to me when trying to start their fitness journey is that they want to look like somebody else. For example, I get it a lot when a lady says to me, "Oh yeah, I want like an arse like Kim Kardashian," or "I want to look like this fitness influencer that's on my Instagram," and things like that. And the thing is, trying to look like somebody else is ultimately like trying to turn a pear into an orange, or an orange into an apple, or an apple into a banana. Like, the thing that makes these things is their genetics. So a banana is a banana because it's got the genetics of a banana. An apple is an apple because it's got the genetics of an apple. You can't change the genetics of these things. You can't change the genes or the DNA within these things, right? You cannot change them. So trying to look like somebody else is in much the same way as trying to change an apple into a banana, trying to change, your genetics. For example, it doesn't matter how hard I train, it doesn't matter how bulky I get, it doesn't matter how much muscle I put on, it doesn't matter how ridiculously motivated I am, I will never get to a point where I look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Why? The reason as to why I will never look like Arnold Schwarzenegger comes down to the fact that he's, 6'7", I want to say, 6'4". His muscle insertions and origins, completely different to mine. He's got what's known as optimal muscle genetics because his muscles are shaped in a certain way which allows him to look as well as he does. And also, I mean, if you literally look back on Arnold Schwarzenegger's body when he was like 19, he's got the body of somebody that's been training for decades when he was 19, and that simply comes down to the fact that his genetics were absolutely insane. Now, I'm not disregarding it, and I'm not saying that obviously he hasn't put in the work, because ultimately he has. He's put in a shit ton of work to get to that point. What I'm trying to say is no matter how much I train, no matter how much I want to look like somebody, I cannot look like them because my genetics are completely different to his. Now, if I was trying to look for attention, or just trying to be sad at what I'm doing, I'd say that I got shit genetics compared to Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I have got shit genetics compared to him. That's why he's won so many awards in his time, and that's why he's known as this all-time bodybuilding great. But what you need to understand is that good poker players always find a way to win with a hand that they've been dealt, no matter how shit it is. So I'm not going to go out there and say I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm not going to go out there and say I want to look like Ronnie Coleman. I'm not going to go out there and say I want to look like Matt Does Fitness or any of these like Gymshark models that you see. I'm just going to go and try and be the best version of myself as possible. And that's going to sound cringy as fuck. And I get that, because it is. It's very, very cringy to say that. I'm just going to be the best version of myself. I'm going to be the best version of myself. But that is what you're supposed to be trying to do. Don't try and become somebody else, because your genetics are different to theirs. And the thing is, no matter how hard you try, you cannot change your genetics. You are stuck with your genetics. There are something that stays with you forever. Sure, there are certain ways to change the appearance of your genetics these days. For example, if you are born with like a relatively small chest, I guess, you can get implants. If you are born relatively short, you can actually get your legs snapped and get bone or man-made bone put into your legs to make yourself taller. So you can actually do things to actually change your appearance, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you've changed your genetics. You've just changed, you've tried to, you've sugar-coated them. You've put something around your genetics to make it seem like you're actually different to what you are, right? And these things are completely up to you whether or not you want to do them. But that's kind of like getting a shit hand with poker and then paying somebody to, sly you another card under the table. You're trying to do things which will not work. Alex has literally just commented on my Instagram, so if you're watching this either on Facebook or on the podcast or on the YouTube video, you probably won't see this, but I'm actually going to post this up so you can actually see it. One of my favourite health quotes is, even if we all ate the same and worked out the same, we'd have different bodies. Puts it into perspective. 100% exactly. It doesn't matter how much you do up a car, for example. If you've got like a KA, it doesn't matter how much you do it up. Doesn't matter what paint jobs you put on it. Doesn't matter if you give it LEDs. Doesn't matter if you give it decent hydraulics. Doesn't matter if you change the radio in it. It will still be a KA at its core. It will never be a Ferrari. You cannot turn a KA into a Ferrari no matter how much you try, because a KA will always be a KA. A Ferrari will always be a Ferrari. Sure, the Ferrari looks really, really good, and ultimately people will probably want a Ferrari over a KA. But I can tell you right now, I've actually seen some really decent done-up KAs in my time. People have done up a KA, a Ford KA, to make it actually look really, really decent. And this is something that you should do. Don't try and turn a KA into a Ferrari. Just make the KA as good as you can. You are stuck with your genetics. It's something that you are stuck with. It doesn't matter how short you are. It doesn't matter if you are flat-chested. It doesn't matter if you have hair colour that you don't want. It doesn't matter about all of these things. What matters is what you do with them. What matters is how much effort you put in to be a better version of yourself, as cringy as that sounds. Do not try and be somebody you're not. Do not try and wish for different genetics, because it won't happen. What will happen is the amount of effort that you put in to improve upon yourself and make it so you are happy with yourself long term. Don't ever try and become someone you're not, because it's just not going to work. You are stuck with your genetics. People aren't going to like me saying that. You cannot, whatever you do, get dealt. If you are 5'9", 5'9" squad, I can never get shoulders or arms like a 7-foot person, because they will have longer surface area, more surface area to build muscle. So ultimately, if we train the exact same and obviously ate the exact same, or they ate more than me and trained more than me, they will always have bigger arms than me, because they are 7 foot, where I'm 5'9". You know what I mean? I'm a short ass. But that being said, it doesn't stop me from going out and trying to get as bigger arms as what I can. If you are shorter, for example, you will always potentially be relatively stronger than someone who's taller. I could probably, based on my body weight, I could probably deadlift more than someone who's 7 foot, and I can have a decent understanding about that. And the reason why, on average anyway, the reason why is because levers, because I'm closer to the ground, so I'll be able to actually get less range of motion, which means I'll be able to lift more off the ground. It's just about doing what it is that you can do with the genetics you've been given. Don't try and change them. It won't work. Just try and be the best version of yourself, for fuck's sake. Also, there's also always benefits to having short limbs for some exercise, like pull-ups, pros and cons, so everything. Exactly, Alex. I can deadlift more than a 7-foot person if we change the train to the same, because I'm closer to the ground. There's always benefits to having you. I've got ginger hair, which means I've got a better personality. Else, if I didn't, then I'd be fucked by now, you know what I mean? So do what you can just to make your genetics great, rather than trying to change them. I hope that helps, and I hope that makes sense. If you want any more questions being answered, feel free to send me a DM on my Instagram at k.p_health. If you want any of my free resources, including my ultimate eating out guide, my 5-ingredient recipe book, and my free alcohol cheat sheet, send me an email on my email address, kieran@kphealth.co.uk, and I'll be able to send that through to you, no strings attached. In the meantime, have a lovely rest of your Monday, take care of yourself, and I will speak to you again very soon. Have a good